What's up, guys? I'm Skyler from CultureShockShop.com, owner of Culture Shock Clothing and Records here in Rockford, Illinois. Busted open my double oaked Woodford Reserve for a little double video we're doing for our Vinyl Happy Hour video series, where we talk about some new and interesting records and even some upcoming records. We did a special one this week talking about all the Kraftwerk indie store exclusive color vinyl releases that I should say just came out but just came back in. They actually were from last year. So if you didn't see that extra video from this week, please go and check that out and make sure you like what we're doing. We'd love to see the like button getting hit and subscribe to the channel so you can keep up when we're doing some Vinyl Happy Hour videos. I have some brand new releases I want to talk about tonight and show off, but first I'm going to talk about this really cool reissue of one of my favorite David Bowie albums, which did get reissued a while back. I did a video talking more. I did like a semi-drunk history of David Bowie, talking about one of my favorite albums and kind of one of the overlooked ones, The Man Who Sold the World. Obviously, a lot of people talk about that song, and of course, Kurt Cobain had covered it and stuff like that. But Black Country Rock and Running on Blues, I mean, wow, there's a lot of good songs on this, and I love, obviously, Tony Visconti was a producer on it. But besides Bowie, of course, Mick Ronson really shines with just some heavy rocking guitar on this album. But what I want to talk about this album for is they got a picture disc limited reissue of it with a poster. But instead of just giving us the picture disc in a clear plastic bag or whatever, it actually comes in a jacket with track listings and insert. And if you can see here, I'll put my hand in so you can see, it's actually a die cut round front. So it showcases the picture disc nicely while it's in the jacket. The main image is what was on the original release, the American release anyway. A great big swing and kick of Bowie rocking his guitar, and then on the B-side you get a nice close-up. And I did want to remind myself to mention, I know there's some grumblings. I've heard a lot of people talk about picture discs or neglect to get a release because it's on a picture disc. There's a lot of myths about picture discs. I think a lot of people talk about sound quality being poor or something like that. And honestly, if the sound quality is poor on a record, sometimes it's not even because it's a picture disc. It might have been a bad, bad mastering or something like that. But there was a small phase in time. It seems like usually 80s and 90s picture discs, the way they pressed them or put them over an image, somehow the grooves were really thin or not that great. So I have heard some picture discs that didn't sound that great, but for the most part, I can't tell the difference between hearing a regular record or a picture disc. There's also some weird talk sometimes about color vinyl sounding poor or something like that. And really even a lot of black vinyl, most black vinyl, it's color too. They have to add that pigment and color. So I wouldn't steer away from an album just because it's a picture disc or color vinyl unless you know for sure there was bad mastering. So this is definitely a great sounding release. But there's one other thing we do have to show off about it is the poster that it comes with. You get a nice, great, big image of, well, let me move that out of the way. So you can see the nice full image of that big leg kick from Bowie live on stage with his guitar. So really cool release that they did this. I think they did a great job by putting it in the package like that and not just the plain heavy sleeve. I've had some picture discs. That's probably my biggest complaint on some picture discs is they'll just come in like a thick bag like this or something instead of a real jacket. But yeah, I thought that was a really cool release, so I wanted to show that off. It's also a great Bowie album, so make sure you listen to Beyond Just the Man Who Sold the World. That was right. There's another reason. Rumor has it, that's right, why we're doing a second video, because there was a major release coming in from an artist I had turned my back on just a little bit because of some issues with getting records to independent record stores. But we'll welcome her back now because Taylor Swift Evermore, could I call it Evergreen because of the green vinyl, is finally here. And the reason we had to do this extra video is because we usually do our videos on Thursdays, kind of highlighting and talking about some of the releases coming out on Friday. So with this one, I don't know what it is, certain artists are still very protective over the release date of their records and stuff, which is funny to me because this has been streaming already for months. And actually there was a vinyl version of this already out, wasn't there? I think this actually already came out on color vinyl at a certain big retailer or something, but I'm not gonna talk any smack about that. I'm just happy that it's finally released and it's available to, all stores who wanna carry it. but we couldn't get it in until today. They wouldn't even let the stores have it a day ahead of time. So if you ordered this online, by the way, we still have these available in store now and on our website at cultureshockshop.com. But I wanted to let you know we typically ship things out a few days ahead of time so you can get them on the release date. But these, because of the games that the labels play and stuff, they went out today. So check your email from your original order. It'll get automatically sent to you with a new tracking number so you know when it's going to be coming in. But to those of you who already came in the store today to pick it up or coming in this Memorial Day weekend to get it, we do have them in stock now finally. Nice double LP of Evermore. Definitely the first song that I heard from this was people were talking about some things with her doing featuring Bon Iver on the Evermore song, of course. So we knew she was going in a new direction and definitely a lot less pop. This is more of a stripped down indie, very vocal, very mature album. Speaking of being very mature, there is some swear words. We noticed there's a little parental advisory sticker, so Taylor's grown up here. Definitely dropping some swear words too. It came in this little sticker to indicate it is on green vinyl, double LP, and both of the records do have printed inserts with lyrics and all that good stuff. And I was like, what drink do I want to get tonight? And I was like, well, this is a double LP on green vinyl. Let's get the double oaked Woodford Reserve. Nice and woody, nice and oaky, double barreled in American oak barrels. Great drink to enjoy some Taylor Swift with. Let's talk about the collaborations though. She also features Haim on No Body, No Crime and Coney Island featuring The National. So it's really cool to see the different artists she's working with. And I don't want to say anything bad about Justin Timberlake per se, but I know a while back we were kind of talking about the Man of the Woods and him trying to do a shift and going from pop music to something either more country or more stripped down and stuff like that. And I think what she's done here definitely works a lot better than what Timberlake had done with that album, because that was still a pop album. He just kind of, it seems like, threw on a flannel or did something, or whatever, tried to change up the sound a little bit, but it didn't change the whole album. She's definitely changed this whole album and definitely progressed. Obviously, she did a lot with some different pop stuff, and this takes me back to her roots, but, not as country, more just a great indie pop album. I was joking with Mike earlier. I was saying, like, hey, did you know when you're shopping in Hallmark with your mom, got caught shopping, they'd be like, oh, I'm just here because I'm here with my mom, but you secretly like being there? Well, then you're gonna like this Taylor Swift album. But anyway, Gatefold album, really cool that it's finally available. Like I said, I was teasing that Taylor Swift hadn't had this record of it. I didn't listen to it because it wasn't available to independent stores, and it had only been on her website in like a chain store. Thanks to Jared for letting us open up a copy and check it out, give it a thorough listening. So Jared's the big resident Taylor Swift fan at Culture Shock for sure. Here's a band I like. We like to talk about obviously some great new releases and pop stuff and more well-known stuff, but I really dig some of the more obscure music. Can was definitely kind of more of an obscure band. German pioneers of like krautrock, and this live album, thank God it's getting put out on vinyl. I hadn't known about this or never listened to it, but this is a triple LP, live in Stuttgart, 75, triple gatefold. I don't even know if my little stand will hold it. It's so heavy. But this version is on orange vinyl. Besides Sabbath and like Metallica and stuff like that, Can is one of my personal favorite bands. This does come with a download. And the keyboardist, Ermin Schmidt, is actually the one who helped get this mastered and verified that the sound of it is up to what Can standards should be. Can is a hard to describe band. What do you want to say? Psychedelic, krautrock, this is very jazz-driven band too. With this live set, I don't believe there's vocals on any of it either. It is just all instrumental, but it's weird. This is definitely different than their other albums. Hearing this live set, it's almost like noodly and jazzy and jammy in a different way. Different than like Frank Zappa, or almost in a way like, dare I even say Fish and some other bands are messing around and there's synthesizers and other things going on. So this almost leaves that krautrock territory and explores into a new jazz jam situation for sure. But I did want to show, what do you want to call, little details that get overlooked, your little Easter eggs. Well, there's also really cool booklet and insert with it, but I noticed, I doubt anyone will be able to see that. You'd have to shine a light on it, but inside of the jacket, there's little bugs and moths and stuff like that on the guitar stack. I just happened to peek inside. I always look inside of a jacket, also making sure there's no hidden things. And I noticed there's little bugs and moths and stuff printed inside of the jacket. And I was like, well, that's a cool little Easter egg. Yeah, you'll probably not see it on the camera, but just take my word for it. It's in there. There's a little moth in there. So triple gatefold, orange vinyl, really just good, chill, live jam. Definitely check out Can. Tago Mago, or whatever it's called too, is like probably one of the greatest psychedelic krautrock albums ever made. But hearing them in their live set is cool. There's been some bootlegs and stuff like that. Actually, these were curated from bootlegs, essentially, like not officially recorded albums and stuff like that of the recordings from the show. But one of the guys in the band, original member, who was there, obviously knows what it should sound like, helped oversee the mastering of this. So it is available on black vinyl too. There's the limited amount on orange vinyl. So if you want the orange vinyl, don't wait on that one. That's also, if you look in the description of our YouTube video, there's a link to the staff picks, and we will have all of these there for you if you want to pick them up for either in-store purchase or we'll ship them to you, whatever. PJ Harvey, another, wow, one of my favorite artists too. Her albums were very rare, very hard to find. Obviously, because of the years they came out, this is the Peel sessions that she had recorded over the years from 91 to 2004. Those are probably some of the deadest years for vinyl ever. And a lot of her records just weren't on vinyl or were very expensive or only available in Europe. This has some very stripped down. She's playing with different sets of musicians on some of these songs. And this whole year we've been seeing some of her classic albums getting reissued finally. So this is the BBC Live Peel Sessions finally released on vinyl. I can't remember. I think this might have either never been released or maybe very limited or only as a bootleg. So it's nice to get an official recording of it. But you can hear PJ Harvey at her highs, her lows, her almost kind of bluesy stripped down sound too. I mean, it's very punk and jazzy in a way too. But if you've been keeping up with her other albums getting reissued, just want to make sure you know that the Peel Sessions is now available also. There was a jazz release. We just want to talk about a couple more new releases since we had to wait on Taylor Swift to come in to do our new vinyl thing for Memorial Day. Abbey is Blue. Songs by Abbey Lincoln. This is a classic jazz piece from the Riverside label. The reprint has the original Riverside label on it. Nice thick vinyl. This is Craft Recordings. They've been doing a wide variety of music, but especially their jazz stuff. They've been doing all analog recordings, very affordable prices, great, super great sounding records. So this is a jazz classic, even though there are vocals. She's got a great bluesy vocal, you know, obviously in the range of Ella and lots of other singers, but in a different way. You've got an all-star lineup that includes Kenny Dorham, both Stanley Turrentine and Wynton Kelly, Sam Jones, Philly Joe Jones, and Max Roach. I thought the other Turrentine is on a couple songs too, but obviously you'll know those players because they played on tons of the classic Blue Note catalog, some even on Impulse, a lot on Riverside. Of course, some with the Horace Silver and Art Blakey's Jazz Messengers and Miles Davis and Coltrane. So this has really got a great jazz instrumental backing her too on this. Originals, of course, are very hard to find. Would almost never find them in mint condition, so thankfully those are getting reissued. And coming up right away, wow, we're already luckily getting in a little leak. I wanted to give you guys a little leak on something I'm excited about coming out in Record Store Day. This Thrice album, To Be Everywhere and To Be Nowhere, came out in 2016, but this is a really strong album from them because it comes at towards the end of a long career for these guys. Towards the end of a good line of recordings, I should say. And this is definitely a good, heavy, emotional post-rock album from these guys. Not nearly as hardcore and stuff as some of their earlier stuff, but look at this color vinyl. This is like a limited one. I wish I could tell you the number getting made. There might only be 2,000 copies. Look at this color. I thought it was cool. I jokingly said when I saw it, I was like, what, did some of the kids of the band members take their crayon and just smash it into the vinyl? But it has a really cool, very separated line of splatter color in it. And the booklet that it comes with is really nice, kind of line-bound, sewn-bound. There's like all kinds of cool images and more of band lyrics and stuff like that inside. And it comes with this cool little Obi strip. I thought it was interesting for the Record Store Day 2021. This release is going to be coming out June 12th. First in-store only. 8 a.m. will be open. If we have any available, though, they will be on our website at the end of the day. But the Vagrant record label is doing their 25th anniversary of some classic albums, and maybe there'll be some others coming out on future record store days. But it has this little removable Obi strip to show that off to you. And I had another random release I just wanted to show off because Mike informed me that the Obi strip stands for an outer band insert. So in case you're ever wondering, it has a very Japanese sound to it because most of the Japanese releases, which have been released over the years that were of US albums, still had the original, US language and stuff, but a lot of times they would have the Japanese information on there, and all the collectors and people want to keep that with it. So the Obi strip is an outer band insert. Now you know. Thanks for teaching that to me, Mike. But now that I have this here, I might as well show this off. This is pretty interesting too. This is another, like I said, we like to talk about, all the Metallicas and Black Sabbaths and classic albums too, but some of the really obscure stuff that fell through the cracks over the years. Mark Fry, he actually just calls this album Alice, evidently, but it was called Dreaming with Alice. This is a weird, great album from Now Again, Reserve Edition Records. This guy, English fella, 1971, went into the record label, played some songs, came in barefoot, I guess, and got a deal through a subsidiary of RCA somehow, and recorded this obscure album that really went nowhere. Very few copies of it had ever been sold or distributed. It's a trippy, acid folk psych album. It is kind of like, I would say, kind of like Nick Drake if he was playing with a band that also had a sitar member and Nick Drake was barefoot or something. It's a cool, trippy album, extremely rare. Original pressings of this have sold roughly, some had sold for $1,200 and $1,500. There's been copies that have sold for $3,000. They're so rare. So cool that they finally got the ability to reissue this. I read the story. It comes with a great booklet, I should mention, that talks about the release. So this is one of the cool things, like all the stories behind these records, when you get to look into them and read about some guy, collector of records and stuff like that. I forgot his relation to the record label or how he ended up with it. Talks about buying the original master 4-track tape recording of this album, and he got that for cheaper than what people were flipping and selling the original record for, which was just a copy of the record anyway, and most were probably bootlegs also. And now he's worked, with Now Again to get this actually authentically reproduced, and even talked with Mark Fry, who kind of was a fringe musician and a painter and did just a little bit of music and live shows over the years. But the story about how he got these tapes and got this reissued is just a really cool story and a really great album. So great to see that they did this actually analog from the original tapes, and Mark Fry even verified that that was the original tapes that he had recorded. So it's so cool that he connected with the artist and found out, and in the last few years even had sparked interest in him to make more albums and do things again. Kind of reminds me of the Linda Perhack story, if you know her, how this kind of obscure folk psych artist ended up making music again in a modern generation who had kind of gotten lost over the years. So so cool to see all these smaller independent labels, the color vinyl pressings, the stories behind them, and the rarities coming out. Record Store Day is going to be full of rarities and interesting things like that. That's coming up June 12th and July 17th. If you want to see what's coming out, we do have a link below also to kind of view what's going to be available. And of course, we change up our staff picks every week, and you can pre-order upcoming releases at the links below. But I hope you have a fun Memorial Day weekend and have fun kind of watching a little additional video. So go back and watch our other Vinyl Happy Hour videos if you missed any here from the last couple of weeks. And we will see you again next Thursday for Vinyl Happy Hour. Cheers!